Hey
Hi.
everyone, thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're gonna get started with the presentation in just a second. Just gonna give people a chance to trickle in here, but yeah, thanks for joining.
Thanks, everyone. We'll give it another minute or two and then we'll get started. And yes, I saw a question. It will be recorded, so it'll be posted to Chicago.gov/NOF and summercore.com/NOF. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. This is an info session for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund Grant Program, and we're just going to tell you a little bit more about it. So a little bit about us. We have Joshua Sun and Joshua Langen from the city side. Joshua Sun is joining me here today, so he'll be able to help us out a little bit with the Q&A session at the end and answer any questions you might have for the city and DPD. And on the program administrator side, we have Ruben Waddy and then me, Cal Hadfield. I'm having some camera trouble today, but this is what I look like. Here's a bit of a preview about what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be talking about what the NOF is, a little bit of background and the structure itself, some things to keep in mind before applying, the program process itself, and then a conclusion with some next steps, contact information, and the Q&A session. Although if you do want direct contact information, it's available on this slide here. Our email addresses are all down at the bottom. And these slides are available at Chicago.gov/NOF under the program overview. Okay, so what is the NOF? The NOF was launched in 2016 to build strong and vibrant commercial corridors on the south. Ooh. Hi, Josh.
Hey, your presentation's not showing for some reason.
It's not. Oh my goodness.
It's going for me. I don't know if anybody in the watching can flag if they have any issues, but I think the issues might be on your end, Josh.
Yeah, would anyone mind popping off in the chat?
Okay, yeah, everyone seems that they can see it. All good.
All these years of Zoom and what's a few more technical issues every time, right? But okay. Well, I'm glad that the contact info showed up. So if anyone needs that, it is on the website, as I said. But background, NOF is a grant for small businesses, local businesses along commercial corridors on the south, southwest, and west sides. It is a reimbursement grant and technical assistance program that supports permanent builds and renovations of commercial spaces. By reimbursement, we'll get into this a little bit later, but there are two different two options for how the grant funds can be dispersed, but we'll get into that in a second. Here's a little bit about how the NOF is funded. It comes from the Neighborhood Opportunity Bonus, which are special fees paid by downtown area development projects leveraged to foster neighborhood development and central area growth. The NOF receives 80% of these funds, as you can see here. And this means, unlike most other city financial incentive programs, the NOF is not funded through local property taxes. At a glance, here are some of our stats. Right now, we have over 115 completed projects across 31 community areas and 22 wards. We have some projects that are going to be finishing up soon within the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be putting out some announcements and promotions about events that they're going to be doing and grand openings, all that. Here is an example project. This is Levitt Laundry at 2145 West Cermak Road in South Lawndale. They had a $136,000 NOF grant. They finished up just at the end of last year, about December 2024. This project, it was majorly a facade renovation. You can see they redid the windows, they got new signage, and then there were some internal structural work done as well. We have another example project here. This is Bronzeville Winery at 4420 South Cottage Grove Ave in Grand Boulevard. They got the full grant amount, $250,000, to pretty much gut rehab this whole place. It was a vacant space that they totally transformed here, as you can see from the after photo. A bit more about who's involved. So there's the Department of Planning and Development, or DPD. DPD provides the funds for the NOF grant. DPD works with the NOF finalists and grant recipients or grantees to navigate the City of Chicago departments and requirements. And then there's Summer Corps, where I'm from. Summer Corps is the program administrator. We work in partnership with DPD, and we are the primary contact for NOF grantees. Summer Corps is responsible for assisting grantees in managing and stewarding projects through necessary milestones to reach project completion. So if you are made a finalist or a grantee, you'll probably be sending me and Ruben a lot of your documentation, working with us to make sure you meet all the requirements. There are a few things that are new in 2025. The NOF was on a hiatus for about a year and a half, but we are back. We are closing our second round of, no, this is going to be the third round coming up in August. And a couple new things this year. We have the Technical Assistance Fund, or the TAF, which provides additional assistance of up to 20% of the grant amount. This assistance is in addition to the grant and may be used to pay for services provided from a pre-selected list of project managers and architects. And that list is available on Summer Corps' website. That's summercorps.com/NOF. You'll be able to see we have bios and contact information for our pre-approved TAs. Also new in 2025, we increased coverage from 50% to 75%. So now we'll go into the funding structure in the next couple slides, but we've increased the amount that you can be reimbursed to allow for transformative capital improvement projects. And then the third thing that is new in 2025, we have a loan loss reserve program, in which we partner with community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, to help pipeline applicants access capital. So if you apply and your project is a really good fit for the NOF, but you just need a little bit of help reaching the capital threshold, then we should be able to pair you with a CDFI to try to help you get a strong application for the next round. So what is the NOF, the program structure itself? Here's a visual of how the grant is calculated. So we have, we take the total eligible project cost, which we'll get into the details of that in a second, but it is important to note the eligibility of your project costs. The NOF can only cover permanent expenses. So we had an alumnus put it a very good way, where if you turn the building upside down and shake it, anything that falls out can't be covered by the NOF. But we do take all of the eligible costs, and then the NOF will cover 75% of that. And then you as the grantee would be responsible for that remaining 25%. And then we can see on the end there, the technical assistance fund, that's in addition to the grant, the base grant itself, if you do choose to work with one of our pre-approved project managers or architects. Here are the three main elements of the grant calculation. So we have the base grant, which, as I said, is calculated from the eligible costs identified by DPD and Summer Corps from the construction bids that you submit first at the time of your application, but then if you are chosen as a finalist, we'll have you submit bids again just to see any kind of project changes in the project cost. We also have an acquisition coverage option. So if part of your project includes buying the property, that expense can be used as a credit to your within your NOF base grant. It gets a little bit complicated. So if this is something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me or Ruben. And we can go over acquisition more in depth for your specific needs. And then, as I said, yes, the Technical Assistance Fund provides financial assistance for design, permitting, construction management service providers, and it is an additional fund on top of your base grant. So 20% of your base grant up to $50,000. Here is a couple visuals of the two ways the NOF grant can be dispersed. So we have a reimbursement option where basically you would pay the cost of the project, and then the NOF would reimburse you. Usually in about 3 stages. It can be all at once if you want to do the entire project and then just get the lump sum at the end. But we can also split it up into a couple different stages. The other option, which is unique to NOF, I don't think there's any other grant programs that have this option, but we do a construction escrow. So if you aren't able to get the 100% project cost up front, but you do have your 25% contribution up front, you can put that into an escrow account. The NOF will put their 75% into this escrow account, and then through that we'll pay the contractors directly. Now, this is a little bit of a complicated option, so we would have to make sure it's right for you if you are selected as a grantee. It's best for higher scope projects or larger scope projects. But again, if this is something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me or Ruben, and we can kind of walk through what would work best for you. Here's some things to keep in mind before applying. We have the eligibility requirements. So first and foremost, you're going to want to check your location eligibility. The NOF is structured along these specific commercial corridors. So they are all on the south, southwest, and west sides. But if your business doesn't fall along one of these specific corridors, unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible for the NOF grant. So you can go to our interactive map. There's a link here in the presentation if you do want to view the slides on our website, or you can just go to it directly on Chicago.gov/NOF. There's a little tab at the top. Just click that and you'll be able to input your address and check to make sure that you are eligible by location. The types of projects or organizations that the NOF can fund: commercial properties, including office, retail, and the exteriors of mixed-use commercial and residential buildings; cultural institutions such as museums, theaters, performance venues; nonprofit organizations that have an on-site commercial component. So an example of this, we've done a couple nonprofit organizations that wanted to use the grant to put in a coffee shop in their office, or that kind of thing. So this on-site commercial component. And then we also do artisanal manufacturing, production, and services with an on-site commercial component. So an example we'll see a little bit later on, Magnolia Screen Printing, which is a screen printing company that sells their materials on site. Some ineligible types include residential properties, including home-based businesses and live workspaces; social service organizations, including workforce development and daycare centers; places of worship that exclusively promote or incorporate religious teachings of any kind; and industrial or heavy manufacturing. If you have questions about the eligibility of your business or organization, go ahead and reach out and we can kind of take a closer look and determine if it would be eligible. Some eligible expenses include, but again, aren't limited to, these permanent construction costs such as roofing, facades, storefront systems; minor site improvements, as long as they are part of a larger project; building demolition, environmental remediation, security measures, mechanical system repairs, as long as they aren't solely to comply with city code; HVAC, plumbing and electrical; and then architectural and engineering fees, mostly through that technical assistance fund. Some ineligible expenses include these minor repairs if they're not part of a larger project. So if you have, for example, an $800 painting project, you want to paint the interior of your store, that wouldn't quite meet the threshold of what the NOF can take on. Other ineligible expenses: construction rehabilitation of residential units, or the residential portion of a mixed-use building. So again, we can do the exterior, but any kind of interior work would be ineligible. Repairs or improvements to bring a building into compliance with the city code. If that is the sole use of your project, it wouldn't be eligible for the NOF. But again, if it's part of this larger project, we take a look at all of this and we can kind of determine the eligibility of it. And then, unfortunately, operating expenses of any kind, such as payroll or inventory, would not be covered by the NOF. Here's another example project. We have Ted's Place at 5813 West Madison Street in Austin. They had a $44,000 NOF grant to renovate their facade. This project was before my time, so I'm not entirely clear on the details. I think there was some interior work done as well, but you can see the transformation of their exterior here. And then we have Black Planet Products. Their store Smell Goods at 108 West 95th Street in Roseland. They had, I think, our smallest NOF grant at $10,200. They redid their signage, some of their exterior, and then security measures as well. Here's some more things. Before applying, we have resources for you that we definitely want to stress and make known that these are available. So we have application toolkits, a series of kind of PowerPoint presentations. They're a bit longer than your average PowerPoint presentation, but they walk you through the application itself. And then we have smaller ones that go through the required portions of the NOF application, such as how to provide proof of site control, because that's something, part of the requirements of the NOF is for you to have site control in the form of a deed, a lease, or an executed purchase and sale agreement, showing that you will have full site control of the property at the time of your construction project beginning. We have another toolkit going over construction bids, how to obtain them, what requirements there are for the NOF application, And then we also have one for how to document your sources of funds. As I said, this is a reimbursement grant. So when you apply, we do want to see kind of where you're at with your contribution to the construction project. And then we also have a walkthrough of how to make a sources and uses table. So all of those are available at summercorps.com/NOF. You can see the link is right here directly, or you can go find it on our website under applicant resources. We also have a host of community partners. These are organizations who are familiar with NOF. We're working right now on making a directory of their services. So we have a whole bunch of different partners. You can see the full list at Chicago.gov/NOF under resources. But we have a bunch of partners who do different things. We have some lenders. We have chambers of commerce. We have some just development corporations. So you can go ahead and see who's in your area, and they'll be more than happy. They're all familiar with the NOF. They've worked with us in the past, and they'll be more than happy to direct you and help you as best they can. A bit about the program process and how to apply. The application is it operates on a rolling basis and is evaluated quarterly, which means the application is open year-round. The funding is available year-round, so you can submit your application at any time. The deadlines that you see, like our next one is coming up Friday at 11:59 p.m. on August 15th. That just means that's when we're going to start evaluating them. So we evaluate applications within about 3-month rounds. So if you submit your application after this August 15th date, it just means it will be evaluated November 15th, I believe, is the next one. But your application will be evaluated in November in that case. But yes, our next one is coming up in a couple weeks on August 15th. And then if you are made a finalist, you'll be notified in fall of 2025. The NOF application is completely online. You can find it at Chicago.gov/NOF. It's hosted through submittable.com. You will have to make an account on Submittable to view and fill out the application, but the account is totally free. If you don't want to make an account until you've kind of previewed what it will entail, you can use our application toolkit at summercorps.com/NOF. That will show you all the questions, what's required. If you decide that this is something you can take on, go ahead, make your free account on Submittable. And you can start your application and continue it later. It will be saved as a draft. You don't have to fill it out all at the same time. And I do want to stress again that you will have to upload all required documentation. So if you don't have some of the documents ready, go ahead and save that as a draft. You can come back, upload them later. Here are a couple of common application mistakes that we see. As I said, required materials missing. So if you upload your, still early. If you submit your application missing some of those documents, the proof of site control or your financing or your construction bids, unfortunately, we will have to disqualify your application. So it is important to make sure that you have all of that taken care of before you submit. Another mistake we see, insufficient preparation. If you don't yet have your financing that you intend to have, if you don't yet have your site control, we do say you might be better off to wait until you do have all of those things prepared. Of course, we more than happy to review your application, but the funding is available year-round, so no rush. And then another mistake we see, incomplete responses. So there are a couple open-ended questions on the application. Sometimes we'll see incomplete or just blank responses to those. So if you have questions, please reach out, NOF@cityofchicago.org, or any of our direct contact information at the beginning of the PowerPoint, we have that slide with all of our email addresses. Or again, our community partners are familiar with the NOF application and are happy to help. A little bit about what to expect in this process. The way that applications are evaluated and chosen, beyond the baseline eligibility requirements, we evaluate on project readiness. So applications must demonstrate site control and a financially feasible project budget as defined in the NOF program manual. The program manual is also available online at Chicago.gov/NOF. We also evaluate on project realization. So applications must provide construction cost estimates, detailed business descriptions, and demonstrate the project's positive community impacts. So just want to make sure that we see how your project aligns with the goals and the mission of the NOF. I do want to say that the NOF is competitive and selections are made based on these things in comparison to the other applications submitted per round. So if you don't get selected for one round, we encourage you to apply for a round in the future, because it could have just been a matter of the applications we got in that round. Here is a preview of the NOF timeline overall. It's a bit dense, but if you are interested in seeing what being selected as a finalist and grantee would entail, you can go ahead and look at this slide available online. It's our program overview on our websites. But the timeline overall will take about 15 to 24 months. Okay, in conclusion, a couple more example projects for you. We have Ositos Tap at 2553 South Ridgeway Avenue in Little Village. They got a $205,000 NOF grant to redo this entire interior. This is another vacant space. And now we have this beautiful tavern here. Another one I mentioned earlier, this is Magnolia Screen Printing at 2504 West 63rd Street in Chicago Lawn. They got a $110,000 NOF grant to renovate these couple storefronts into their workshop and store for their screen printed goods. A couple next steps for you. The next application evaluation deadline is Friday, August 15th at 11:59 p.m. The finalists for that intake period will be announced in the fall. Applications must be submitted online via submittable.com, and we aren't able to take hard copy paper applications. And again, you are encouraged to work with community partners in order to develop a strong and competitive application. Okay, here is some general contact information for the city and Summer Corps. I'll go ahead and leave that up, and we can go into the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A text box there. And Ruben was able to join us as well. So Ruben, Josh, and myself will answer your questions as best we can. Okay, thank you, Tony. I see this question. How hard is it to set up the account? I'm assuming the submittable account here. It's really not hard. You just need to put in your email. You need to make a password. If you've applied for city grants in the past, you can use that same submittable account with that same email address before that you used before. So yeah, it's just an email account, and then it's pretty straightforward through there. If you need any assistance with it, though, you can reach out to us at that NOF@cityofchicago.org, and we're happy to help you through it. Okay. The timeline I mentioned, that's 15 months to 2 years. So if you get selected as a finalist, from the time of your finalist designation until the time of your construction project being completed, that usually takes about 15 months to 2 years. It kind of depends on the project and preparation. Obviously, you can't control things. So if anything kind of goes amiss, it might take a little longer. It could take less time. If the finalist and grantee is really, ready to go with all this paperwork. So yeah, just the project timeline overall.
But I do want to reiterate that the projects that we choose, they need to be finished within 2 years. So um, if there's any issues with, the timeline, that needs to be addressed immediately.
All right, thank you, Josh. Next question. How can I find properties in the priority areas that are for sale? This might be a question for DPD. I believe that there are some resources, but Josh, do you know any direct places for this?
I believe this is not really in our scope of work, so it's really up to you to figure out or to find properties that are for sale. There are city-owned um, lots that you can just do Google city-owned lots Chicago, and that should direct you to the city-owned land inventory.
And hi, everybody. This is Ruben Wadi. I'm a vice president for Summer Core and the lead program administrator for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. Thank you for joining. Another thing you can do is work with a realtor to identify properties that are for sale along our eligible and priority corridors. Realtors often tend to be specific to neighborhoods, but they can have geographies as expansive as entire counties or states. In this case, you'd probably want to work with a more localized realtor to identify properties that are for sale along the corridors. And there are other databases that you might be able to access. For instance, Cook County Land Bank Authority, City of Chicago, as Josh said, databases. There are quite a few that you could be able to access. But again, your best bet is to work with a realtor.
All right, thank you, Ruben. Next question I'm seeing, how do mixed use buildings work if you want to renovate the facade, but there's an apartment on the second floor? So with that one, we would look at your bids and architectural drawings, that kind of thing. But if it is just the facade, the NOF is able to cover that, but any kind of work done on the interior of the apartment on the second floor, we wouldn't be able to do anything with that. But the facade of the building is eligible. Next question I'm seeing, if you owe taxes, can you apply? Yes, you're more than welcome to apply. Do want to make you aware that if you are selected as a finalist, you'll have to undergo a scofflaw check. And so if there are property taxes on the or past due taxes in general, they'll have to either be paid or you'll have to submit proof of a payment plan before we can move forward with the NOF. Okay, next question I'm seeing. We received an NOF grant previously. Would that disqualify us in upcoming rounds?
Kelly, I can take on this one.
Okay.
Ruth, I do remember working with you. The rule that we have is if you receive the grant more than 3 years ago, then you're able to apply for the NOF grant again. So in this case, I do believe that your project was closed in either 2021 or 2022. You can give me a call and we can go over that date specifically, but you should be able to reapply for not just this grant, but other DPD grants.
Thank you, Ruben. Next question, can MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, be submitted in lieu of letter of support?
So the idea of a letter of support is just to indicate that either the alder or the community is in support of your project. I'm not sure what an MOU would serve in this purpose. you can, again, you can always submit it, and that can be a supplement to your application. So we would be fine with that. But if the MOU is meant to serve another purpose, you would just need to clarify that.
Yeah,
So
to expand on that answer, MOUs can be issued by, are oftentimes issued by lenders if they want to support the project, but they can't necessarily commit via a fully closed loan or even a commitment letter. So it really does depend on the nature of the memorandum of understanding, which again often tends to be financial in nature. But typically, if you're receiving letters of support from the community, it's just going to be a letter on the letterhead from the community organization sent directly to us via submittable.
Right. So then, okay, so thanks for clarifying that, Ruben. So if the MOU is intended to serve as a proof of financing, we do not take MOUs.
Okay, next question I'm seeing. So I don't need bids from contractors before I submit the application. No, you do need bids. We will need to see at least one bid from a contractor, from a general contractor on your application at the time that it's submitted. So you will need at least one bid.
I also want to add to that, if you have, the more bids you have to showcase the costs, that will make you a stronger application, or that will make your application stronger. So the more you have in terms of bids to verify the cost, to make sure we know that you're not being taken advantage of by other contractors, that will help your application.
Thank you, Josh. Next question I'm seeing, what are the best times to reach out? At what point in time do we have to show proof of assets? Good question. Best times to reach out. We're available during usual business hours. So reach out at any time. If we can't get in touch with you immediately, we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. As for what point in time do you have to show proof of assets? I'll let Ruben and Josh take this away, but yeah, I'll let you take this one.
Sure. It does depend on what you mean by assets. I am interpreting that as financial. The point that you would show the proof of assets slash financing would be the application itself. But then you'll also be prompted if you're selected to showcase the same assets or additional assets at a certain point in time in the actual NOF process itself. But again, the most important time to submit proof of assets slash financing is during the application process itself, where it is a mandatory requirement in order for you to be considered for selection as a finalist.
Thank you, Ruben. Next question. My contractor said my project can be completed in 4 months, but the grantee can take up to 2 years. If I'm interpreting this right, no, you don't have to take the full 2 years. If your project can be completed in 4 months, that's totally great. It's up to your contractor's timeline. You don't have to take the full 2 years. Next question. We are building a mixed-use building that will house office space and a coffee shop. We haven't decided whether we will operate the coffee shop. What would we need to submit to be competitive and meet the realization requirement? Can we apply with a letter of interest from a potential renter for the property? I would say go ahead. We can take a closer look at your application. At the time of project completion, you are going to have a lessee for your commercial space. But a letter of interest at the time of application, I think we can accept that. We can at least review it.
I do want to expand on that answer a little bit. Thank you, Kelly. I think it's important for you to have a firm and final concept for the space at the time you apply, so that it's clear to us what exactly the space will be used for at the time that the project is complete. So if you have a letter of interest from a potential renter, we'd actually prefer to see a lease from the person that's renting so that we can confirm pretty early on what the space will be used for, because letters of interest aren't necessarily binding. it does give us an understanding of what the purpose of the project is, but we're looking for something a little bit more firm. You can always reach out to us, and I can sort of help guide you through what a more firm, what a more firm idea would be. But yeah, just thinking about that broadly, I would say try to pick one of those concepts and make sure to have a business plan that supports the concept.
Thank you, Ruben. Next question is, can you say more about the grant being a reimbursement grant? Would you like to take point on that one?
Sure. So the NOF grant is reimbursable. And what we mean by that is, once you pay for part or all of the total project costs, you receive what's called a reimbursement for 75% of those eligible project costs up to $250,000. One of the unique components about the NOF is that we also have, as Kelly went over, the escrow option for the NOF grant, where we can facilitate payments to contractors using a combination of your funds and the NOF grant. But yes, the NOF grant is a reimbursable grant, meaning that once you pay the contractor in part or in full, we pay you back a portion of those funds.
Thank you. Next question is, are purchase prices reimbursable?
Yes, it's applied as a credit towards your grant for construction. So acquisition projects need to be paired with a rehabilitation component. The grant, therefore, for the acquisition component will be applied to the grant for the rehabilitation component. What this means is that if you close on a property, and let's say it's $100,000, we don't just issue a check for $75,000. We apply that $75,000 to the grant for the construction project.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, if I submit August 16th after the August 15th application close date, will I have to wait until the next evaluation close date before my application is reviewed? Yes. So your application would be reviewed when we start the next cycle in November. Does the grant cover signage? Yes, we do a lot of signage projects. As long as it's permanent, yes, NOF definitely covers signage. Next question, I completed the outside with permit. Can I still submit for a grant? So the NOF, the way it works, we can only reimburse for work done after you've received your formal conditional award letter, which is your grant contract. So work done before you've been accepted into the program, unfortunately, we can't reimburse for that work. Okay, we have two questions here. If an LLC that provides behavioral health and wellness services were to incorporate a visible commercial component, such as a wellness boutique or community cafe, would that meet the eligibility criteria as a commercial property or artisanal service provider? We'd have to look at your application more in depth, but I would say generally yes. But it really depends on the details of your project. And again, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can go over it more in depth for your specific needs. Second part of the question there. Oh, Ruben, did you have something? Oh. Second part of the question, if the property has not yet been acquired, will a letter of intent or agreement with the property owner be sufficient to demonstrate site control for the application? No, I would say you would be better off holding off for a later application round once your agreement has been executed. Next question. The property I'm looking to lease received a NOF grant in 2024. Can I apply under my company, a different entity? No. The NOF grant, and I think DPD grants in general, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but they go by property, not by business. So that 3-year rule that Ruben mentioned earlier, that applies to the property itself, not just the company.
Correct.
Okay, next question. Is this true? While you don't need to have all the financing secured at the time of application, you must demonstrate proof of financing for at least 50% of total project costs within 4 months of receiving a conditional award letter. Yes, that's correct. And thank you for reading the program manual. I believe that's where it is. But yes, that's correct. Within 4 months of getting your grant contract, your conditional award letter, you will have to have 50% of the contribution of your total project cost. Okay, next question. If our project just recently began, can we still apply? Yes, as I said,
Right. So that's something you can still apply, but we will not cover any costs that is currently under construction. We will only be covering costs that have not begun construction yet, because we need to verify the cost and make sure that they all meet our requirements.
and we do have a in-depth documentation process too, so it just works out that to keep everything documented properly, we have to do it that way. But if you are doing your project in phases and you would like to apply for the NOF to cover a later phase of construction, that's up to you, and we can talk to you more about it to see if that would work, best for your projects and your needs. Next question, if I do some of the renovation before I apply, can the remainder still qualify for a grant? I started my project before I was aware of this. Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of that's kind of what we had just said there. But if you have more questions, Justin, go ahead and reach out to us.
Let's just reapply, let's just repeat. So Justin, no, unfortunately, the work that's already been completed will not be reimbursed. But if you apply and you haven't done any work yet, you can apply with the remaining work that you plan to do, and then we can review it, and then that could potentially be eligible for the grant.
Okay, next question. For additional information on escrow account, such as who will own/manage the escrow account, could you summarize how it works? And you're very welcome for answering questions. Thank you for asking questions. But Ruben, would you like to take that one?
Sure. The escrow account will be owned and managed through a partnership between the city of Chicago and a title company named Chicago Title. Chicago Title will hold the escrow account. And essentially the way it works is once the escrow account is set up, we will ask you to deposit what your contribution of funds will be. And then we'll make our deposit into the escrow, matching what the eligible project cost grant is. And then we will facilitate payments to the contractors based off paperwork that's due at each draw. I do believe the paperwork is outlined in the program manual, but just to reiterate what the paperwork is here, we are referring to invoices, sworn owner statements, the general contractor's sworn statement, waivers of lien, W-9s, and in some cases, reimbursement letters. So these are all documents that typically contractors should know and have templates for, but we also have templates, and we also have or are developing a toolkit to help highlight some of the areas of the draw request that are important for you to know as you make one, especially your first one. But that's how it works. And Summer Core helps guide everybody through the escrow process.
Awesome, thank you. Next question is another escrow. If I use the escrow for the project funding, can I show proof of funds for only 25% of the project cost on the application?
We typically ask for the applicant to show an excess of just their contribution for the total project cost that they applied for. So if the total project costs are $100,000, your contribution would be $25,000. What happens very regularly in the construction industry are what are called change orders, changes to the scope of work based off a contractor performing work such as demolition and realizing that there's additional work that they have to price out that they couldn't before because they couldn't see it. So typically we ask for people to show an excess of what their contribution towards the project will be to help cover the costs of future change orders.
Okay, thank you. And that was the last question I'm seeing here. So, and if anyone has any last questions, go ahead and submit them now. Otherwise, I think we can just about wrap up.
Yeah. Or also, encourage them to email the email address on the screen.
Okay, we do have one more. The templates for, also, I'm sorry if anyone can hear my cat in the background.
Of course, it's the only time we actually can hear your cat.
Yes, yep. He's fine. He's just orange. But the templates for the paperwork that Ruben was talking about, if that's what you're referring to, we'll share those with you once you're a grantee. It's not really something that you super have to worry about ahead of time. But the templates for the application, they're available on summercorps.com/NOF. Okay, the last question now I'm seeing, does the business owner need to be an Illinois resident? Not necessarily, but again, this is a grant focused on investment on the south, southwest, and west sides. So we do, we encourage local business. So you don't have to be an Illinois resident, but it is preferred, I guess I could say.
And I just put my contact information in the chat, so feel free to call me or email me if you have additional questions.
Perfect. And then we'll finish off with this. Will the Q&A be posted on the site? Yes, it will be. Okay, I just saw one more come in. One more site control. The only things that can count for site control, represent site control, are those recorded deed, lease with a minimum of 5 years, and an executed purchase and sale agreement. But if you have more questions about that, go ahead and reach out to us, and we are happy to help. So I think we're good to leave it there. If you have any questions, sorry, again, happy to help. Go ahead and reach out to us with anything you may need.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.